Hello. Yes, it is I. And we got ourselves the Poduous system, or Poduos. Look at this, look at the star. Look at the baby star. Okay. So, this is the pretty sure final version of the Polaris Ghen binary star system. So what this video is that, well, I tried to make this but in a stream, and people from Chill Chat found out I was making it into a stream, and they did what they do best, which is be interesting. So that stream didn't really get a lot of words out. So what I plan to do in this video is explain all the things, although it's kind of like a stream, except it's not live because I'm not editing. I'm not gonna edit this at all. You know, it's just gonna be normal. There's a YouTuber called the Neptunian Guy, which I hope will review this system because they're a big Universe Sandbox YouTuber. But I'm gonna make more systems like this. I'm gonna make more really, really detailed systems because every single body in this system is customized. There's well, it's not like customized. I didn't like go into an image editor and like make a custom surface with like a terrain map and then just like slapped it on these objects and put them in the game. No. Basically all of these objects, well, most of these objects are directly from the simulation, especially Taswin. We'll get to that later. We're going out from the star in apicenter order or paracenter order. I don't know. We're going in whatever order we choose. But yeah, even if some of these objects didn't come from the simulation when I found them, all of them are unique. Yeah. So well, they're not unique, I guess, but they all have a lot of care put into them. So let's just go to the normal solar system simulation real quick so that we can go back to our sim. The fan started, so there might be fan noise in the background, maybe. Yeah, look at this. Welcome to the Poduos, the Polaris Ghen binary system. The only worlds known to have life are Semede, Texit, and Oin. That is accurate. Even Oin has life. We'll get to what Oin looks like in a second. You may feel like it's a mistake. It's not. Oin has life. Wait for it. Alright, yeah. No, someone just had to grab something. And now my dog might be acting up a little bit, but it's alright. Anyway, yeah, the only worlds known to have life are Smede, Texit, and Oin, but every single planet has detail, love, and lore. That is true. Can you figure out the similarities between Pish, Pock, and Wishwash? I pronounce it Posh, like Pish Posh, and Wishwash. There's a relationship. Why is Reckon so massive? It is really massive. It's much bigger than Earth and almost as big as Jupiter, and it's a comet. Reckon is a comet. I'll get to Reckon when we get to it. Where did the mysterious Cracklebot come from, and why is it just sitting out there? How did a Yeastus get so big, and how come it has similar rocks to Semede? It's Zip over here. I hope you enjoyed the refined sim, now complete with orbital trail colors. I don't know why I didn't have this. I don't know why I didn't have this. Anyway, that is the system. This is Mach 3.1 because, well, the third one was the final sim where I got all the bodies in order. And this is 3.1 because I just messed around with some textures. I think I only added one new object, quote unquote. In that system, I added, technically added 2 moons to Fluxedunk, the gas giant, which we'll get to. All these names are fucking beautiful. You may not think they're beautiful, but I think that they are gorgeous. Anyway, chronological order from the root star Polaris. And we're gonna go at 2.64 minutes a second just for aesthetics. And here we go. So the first object is themed after Venus. It is Ervis, but you can see the surface, I think. If you find a spot. Yeah, you can see surface details. So it's not the thickest atmosphere. And it's not as big as Earth. It's about less than a fifth the size. But Ervis is a star hugger, nonetheless. Anyway, next planet. Willow is somewhat interesting. It's probably the least interesting object besides Fawn. Only above Fawn because Fawn has an interesting moon. Not really interesting, it's just that it has a moon. But it's got a relationship with this moon, and we'll get to that in a second. But look at Willow. Look at these surface features. It's got brown. It's got kind of greenish. You know, it's got that thing. I like this thing. It looks like little like pockets here. I don't know. Anyway, that's Willow. It is not very reflective, but you know, it's still an important planet nonetheless. Kind of like Mercury in our solar system. It's just there. But it is there for a reason. That's because, like, mining in the future. Like what we plan to do with our Mercury. Anyway, Twim. Twim has a moon, Ratmancat. Let's look at Twim first. As you can see, it's about the same size as Earth. It is, it's got an atmosphere. It does have one. I don't know how, you know, thick it is per se, but it definitely has a atmosphere, and it may not be breathable, but it's not really poisonous. It's toxic because it's not oxygen. That's basically the only reason it's toxic. And here's the moon Ratmancat. Let's check it out. I actually redid this texture from earlier. Look at the little red down there. It's little hidden red spots, and a spot right there, you know. Ratmancat is a tiny moon. It's probably the smallest like moon other than asteroids, but those aren't really moons, are they? Anyway, yeah, that is Twim. Anyway, the first planet with life, and intelligent life at that, Semete and its moon Pylos. Here you can see blue lights from crystal infusion, you know, science words, blah, 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 blah. By the way, this is a solar system that is the model for the setting in one of my books. Well, some of my books. There's a canon in this solar system, and this is the first object with like detailed lore. So I'm not gonna tell like the lore of this planet and its origin yet, or this moon until we get to the very next planet. But evolution-wise, the Symmetrians were similar to humans in that they were tribal and feudal, and they had a pretty bloody history that was filled with hope, but it wasn't really ever proven until the last I'd say few years of their independent civilization functioning, because the Symmetrians and the Texafolk, way out there again, orbiting Nalia, on the moon Texet, there's the Texafolk, and they are much nicer, but we'll get to them in a second. Anyway, the Symmetrians were on the verge of global conflict that could have resulted in this being a tomb world, but fortunately, they detected radio waves from the Ghen star, closest star, so they were like, oh, maybe there's life. They communicated, there was life. So they are very joyous, and they got their shit together pretty quick. Like when you're getting a house guest over that you don't really know and you kind of want to impress, you like get all your shit together, and then you just like put on a smiley face and like, welcome to Semete. anyway, next planet. This is Pylos. Look at this moon. Look at this moon. It's got a deep spot right there, you know. Got a pole right there. Got another canyon right there. Wow, look at this canyon. I never saw this feature. That's canonical now. Pylos has a canyon. I am shipping it. That's not really what she means, whatever. There's a basin there. It's pretty interesting moon. This planet didn't have water, although there's like veins, so I guess those can be like pits. I don't fucking know what that is. Anyway, Pylos. As you may notice, Pylos and Semete both have similar tinted rocks. Semete has reddish rocks, and Pylos has, those are supposed to be more red rocks, but they came out still orange, but that's the original aesthetic of Pylos, so I just made it slightly tinted red, but tinted slightly more red, English. Anyway, now for Aegisthus and the lore of these two planets. Now, there used to be a world called Aegisthus Prime, and that was a massive planet. Look at this. 16.2 Earth masses. This thing is almost as big as Neptune. It's a super Earth, or sub-Neptune, which is a hypothetical planet that doesn't exist in our solar system, much like a tiny inner Venus. that I guess can be a Venus counterpart, Mercury counterpart, Mars counterpart, but closer, and then Earth kind of counterpart. But this is a completely new world. Aegisthus Prime split in its path into two planets, in its history path. In its origins, it split into Aegisthus Duos, which was Aegisthus and Semete. They were a binary planet system for a short time, but that wasn't really stable, and I originally tried to make that like current day stuff. Like, my original plan was that in the present setting of the book canon series, then these two planets would just be orbiting each other today. But putting that in the sim, I quickly realized it was really unstable and the moons were not happy, so I just decided to make them their own things. So in their past, Semete was pushed further into the system. I think I had it that Aegisthus was kicked out, but that's just too much of a phenomenon to be it's just completely unexplainable why such a dense and massive planet would be the one moved out and not the lesser massive planet. So Semete was pushed in and Aegisthus was kept out, and it got a new moon, which is Gum. And here we have Gum. I love Gum. You should love Gum too. Gum is life. Gum is all that is good in the world. We love Gum here. And Natilla is not an ice moon because it's still too close in the Polaris to have ice, but it is a white moon. It's got no ice though. Don't let the surface fool you. It is very rocky. If you look at it, it's just rocks. Don't fret. I also like the contrast between the white and the slightly darker gray and the lighter gray. It's just everywhere, and the tint of the star makes this planet look more like a rock than an ice moon. And when you know it's a rock and not an ice moon, then you get a better appreciation. At least I do. Anyway, Aegisthus itself. Let's look at this planet. Orange rocks, orange/red rocks. Quite interesting. In fact, I only know of 2 other objects with that color palette so far. Yes. Since you already know Semete and Aegisthus were formed from the same materials, you might be unsurprised but interested to know that Pylos, the moon of Semete, was also formed from the same materials. And Semete got to keep Pylos somehow. It's just one of those things that happened. And another original moon from the system is Natilla, but it isn't really made of visually the same materials, so it's just an older moon. Gum is a newer moon, although it formed around the same time. It was just brought to these 2 objects. I'm not going to spoil the details of how the 2 objects, Aegisthus Prime, split into Aegisthus Duos, and then how they separated. Because I honestly don't know. But, yeah, work in progress in the lore. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, Fawn, next planet. Let's see, Fawn. Fawn's real-life counterpart would be... Well, it doesn't have one. It's too big to be a dwarf planet like Ceres, but it's too bland to be a Mars. It's blander than Mars. The only interesting thing about Fawn is probably the North Pole. Oh, hold on. Wait for it. I'm finding the pause button. Oh, the bane of my existence is prevalent. Okay. Let me turn off the light for a second. Just wait for it. Okay. Ambient lighting. Oh god, that's much lower. Secured. Hold on. Settings. I gotta make this full screen again. Why isn't this full screen? Graphics. On. Thank you. Okay. And we have fun. It has a moon. This moon's name is Drum. Look at Drum. We all like Drum too. We like Gum and we like Drum. Moon's best celestial objects, honestly. But yeah, look at the surface of Fawn. You can tell it's a slight super Earth. It's not really big enough to be called a super Earth. I rate that at like 3 or 4 masses of Earth above, like 3.6 maybe, 3.4. This is 1.6, so I count it as an average-sized terrestrial planet. well, not really average because super Earths are quite common. You know, it's quote unquote normal. I'll give you that. And Drum is simply its larger moon, and you can tell they're made of the same materials. Besides the Aegisthus Duos origin system, this is like the only network with origins of the same materials. There are moons that are not made of the same materials as their host bodies in our solar system. I assume, for example, the gas giants, but I predict that, you know, actual moons could be more common. Oh, yeah, there's an eclipse happening in the north. That's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah. Next planet is a doozy. It's not even a planet. It's a comet. Reckon. Now, look at this comet. Tell me, what do you think of it? Except the somewhat glitchy North Pole and questionable South Pole. What do you think of this object? Do you think it's weird? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's fucking enormous? Probably not. It looks pretty good. It's got 6 times the radius of Earth. Just to prove it, here's Earth, right by the object. As you can see, it is fucking enormous. Why is it so big? That's one of the mysteries of the system. There are unexplainable phenomena. Probably a kind of bug is the fact that it keeps a rough shape even though it's many times larger than Earth. I don't know why it does this. It could be like really light powdered snow, but even then it would like morph into a ball. My legs need some space or something. Heh, get it because we're in space. Anyway, the real reason Reckon is like this is because I tried to get it so that it wouldn't evaporate after one pass from Polaris. Come on. This whole setup is cursed. I hauled a heavy ass table up the stairs because my mom just like came downstairs because, you know, it's her house and whatnot, but I had to move my whole setup and it is somewhat weird now. Reckon goes very close to Aegisthus, but I think it's fine. Its orbit looks pretty much similar. And it's a comet, so its orbit is supposed to be wacky. As long as it's got a close approaching point and enough time to cool down back there, then I'm fine. Anyway, here is Callus. And here's an interesting story about Callus. Okay, so remember how I mentioned the Texafolk around the Ghen star? Right, well, Callus is named, and its moon Dapper, but we'll get to Dapper as well. Callus was named after a space explorer from Texas, a Texafolk. They were the first, I guess the Texafolk are cosmonauts because that's their style of suit. So the first cosmonaut from Texas was obviously the first, but they died in re-entry because they didn't understand fully what the dangers of space were. So the same guy whose name was Callus Dapper, you know, first name Callus, last name Dapper, discovered a certain celestial object in a certain star system, and they were gonna name it when they got back after they reached a new point in their life, as they were the first cosmonaut to venture into space. They'd probably find some profound meaning of life shit, and they'd come back and they'd be like, oh, I know what to name the planet. But this is probably better than any name that could have been given, because the story tells a tale of to be cautious with space exploration, but know that well, obviously, look at this planet. Look at it is a gas giant. It is amazing. The rewards can be beautiful. Anyway, this is Gallus. I don't really know a scientific reason as to why it could be green, but it is a green gas giant. It's got like a lime band down here, I suppose. The most color deviant band on Callus right there. I don't know why it's there. That's just a slight detail. Anyway, this oin. It is containing life as we speak. This is barren, you say. As to that, I say, shut up. Let me pause the simulation, pull out an object from our solar system. and show you how you are full of rat shit. Let me pull this out. Europa. You see the similarities, and you see how it's bigger. You see that? You see Oin is well, it has life. It may not be intelligent life, and it may never be intelligent life, but it has complex life beneath the surface. Go into this thing, look at its composition. It's got an underwater ocean, and a thick boy at that. And look on the surface, it looks like a barren wasteland. So that is its defense, and life will flourish for the rest of the life of the star system. And a bit after that, as tidal heating from callus and decay of radioactive isotopes in its core, because yada yada yada, fucking planetary astrophysics or whatever it's called, then it will keep having that life for a bit long after Polaris dies out. And Polaris isn't large enough to go supernova. It's only large enough to explode in a red giant and then a white dwarf, creating a planetary nebula about as far out as Semete or Aegistus. So the life on Oin, which we'll never get to see the surface, they might, I don't know. I'm not the god of this universe or anything. Anything beyond what I care about is complete up for grabs. Personal canon, you think of it yourself. Like, decide for yourself. You canon time. Does Oin life ever get to see the surface? There is fauna and there is flora, and some eventually will get the capacity to use tools. Beyond that, I am not saying shit. I have my own personal canon for Oin, but I'm not gonna let you guys know that, and anything there is beyond. Anyway, next planet, Unisil. And remember how I said every object is supposed to be unique? Well, discluding these two bitches, which are only here for lore and nothing else, and Pizzazz is kind of big, Unisil and Melg were almost identical, so I messed with the physical texture and gave Unisil an atmosphere, but I worked it into the canon. It's just one of a moon. It's just like one of, it is the only moon in the Polaris star system with an atmosphere. It's pretty cool. It's not as big as Titans, but it will prove to the Symmetrians before they come into contact with the Texafolk that moons can have atmospheres. It's very much possible. Anyway, because of the physical similarities between Unisil, Melg, Pizzazz, Equil, and another astronomical body that we'll get to in a second, which I'm not saying much on that yet, you will understand, and I'm not saying this either, why they you get a pretty good understanding as to what the materials were to build with around Callus in its early stages. Like how Jupiter has Ganymede and Callisto, which are pretty similar moons. Callus has Unisil and Melg and the two significant asteroid moons to help paint a picture of the Callus system and its early materials. And I almost forgot about one more moon, but let me just point out. Look at this. Look at these little cracks. This is like kind of an ice moon. I think its real life counterpart is Callisto with these interesting features, although it's the largest moon in this system. Besides maybe another one. Yep. Besides another one, it's the largest moon in the system. So yeah, you can get a good idea as to what the materials were to work with. Yeah. Anyway, that is Melg, and I guess we could take a look at Pizzazz. The only reason why we're looking at Pizzazz is because it is almost spherical. You can barely make out, like right here, it is not spherical. It's almost spherical. It's just got a little bit of mass holding it back. It's not at that threshold yet. So Pizzazz is probably the largest asteroid in the entirety of the simulation. And then you got Equil, which I'm not really gonna go to. Well, I guess I will, because I think I did something to Equil to give it a bit of interest. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's got black shit on it. I don't know what I did there. That's weird. Anyway, Dapper. So Dapper is the largest moon of Callus, and it's not really. I'm not gonna say much there. Headcanon again. What do you think is the origin of Dapper? Anyway, Dapper and Dingbat I love these names. Oh my god, I love every single one of these names in the system. When I was transferring this from Polaris and Ghen 3 to Polaris and Ghen 3.1, when I was like making all the trail colors and redefining the textures, I sat through and changed some of the boring ass names. Like, well, I don't really think anything from this system was changed name-wise. There were some things in Ghen that were kind of boring, which I changed. Maybe like 3 or 4 objects. But yeah. Dapper and Dingbat. As you can see, let's look at Dapper first. So, you may remember, the deceased cosmonaut was Callus Dapper, and this was a recently discovered moon that was named after their last name. You know, just as a bit of more of impact. But Dingbat gives a lot more lore to the Dapper system, because it's a system of its own. It has a moon, and as you can tell, Dapper and Dingbat are made of the same materials. They're identical. They're literally identical. The only difference is that Dingbat is kind of smaller. But this is, I think you could call this a binary, because as like we accelerate time, which I'm afraid to do, you can see the orbit of Dapper just like kind of bounce around a little bit. So yeah, I think this might be classified as a binary as Pluto and Charon are in our universe, solar system thing. But the only information I'm giving out is that Dapper and Dingbat are formed of the same materials that could be called, I guess, similar to Callus, if you wanted to call it that. Anyway, interesting story about Taswen. This is a fuck up, but I was like, hey, dwarf planet, let's go. So, Taswen was supposed to be a fucked up moon of Callus, but it ended up being ejected from the system, and it had a really cool surface feature. If it'll show, I think the planet spun it out of view. You could see it in here. Taswen has a giant Nash in it, and then you could see impact scars, battering like rays emanating from this one giant impact spot. So Taswen was formed around Callus, and I think I was like, okay, the lore here, I don't know what I was doing with Taswen, but I was like, okay, the lore here is that Taswen got butt fucked by an object, and it was ejected out of the system, and with it, it carried 4 asteroid moons: Pittigrew, Eisenhower, Song, and Ban. These 4 asteroid moons orbit Taswen permanently because they'll never affect each other, really. Like, even at their closest points, which might be here. They're not really going to affect each other because they're asteroids. And that was just a fun naming fit I had. They don't do anything. These are purely for lore and aesthetic purposes. But the names in this system add so much personality. I love the Polaris star system, but you know what I love just as much? The Ghen star system. Let's get to Ghen. And as we approach Ghen, you'll notice the first thing is this really far object called Cracklebot. And I guess okay. You can't see the surface anyway because it's pitch black, so let's just like get this out of the way. Cracklebot is an object that is explained in the feature book. I didn't know it had this giant black spot on it on the other side. That's interesting. Anyway, and it's got a little X and stuff. Anyway, it has an explanation in my canon, but I'm not going to explain it yet. And yeah, the Cracklebot, ladies and gentlemen, it is a stranger to the Paduas system. It is not from here. It is captured by Ghen, and it rests in a far, far orbit. In the most elliptic orbit, I think. I don't know. Maybe Reckon is more different. I don't fucking know. Anyway, Ghen. Hell, I started my gig. I don't know. Again, yes. Look at the little bright baby star. Anyway, this Ghen right here is 0.628 sun masses. It is a type K star. I don't know if the size physically, like the radius, is accurate, but it should be, I guess. Anyway, let's see. Spudzer. Let's look at you. Spudzer is the innermost planet of Ghen. Look, it's got green shit. This is probably, along with Willow, as being the most uninteresting object in the thing, because we gotta have inner planets. It's just gotta be the thing. Anyway, you know how I said, excuse me, ow. You know how I said that I am showing the system to a YouTuber and hopefully they look over it? Well, they might be a little confused on this planet and then immediately move on. But there is something interesting about this planet in that you see this little thing here? What is that? What? Could that be ice? Yes. Damek is tidally locked to the star. I think that Spudzer is as well, but I'm not sure. Anyway, as you can see, it has water. It might be a habitable. Let's see. It is a habitable planet. The green is habitability temperatures, and that's like basically all around the night side. So yeah, Damek for the win. Nice. There used to be a third planet here, but it was completely uninteresting, and I even forgot what its name was already, so I just deleted it. Nobody's gonna question its existence because nobody knew. Anyway, another thing they might miss is an interesting detail with Nalia, and they might also miss the size thing with Reckon in Polaris. But in Nalia, you may see it is blue, and that's a little weird, you know. I mean, it's not far enough from the star to be considered a Neptune-style world. I mean, this should be methane or ethane. It's a type of cloud that I don't really know if it exists in the real world, but it's a type of cloud that has to do with the fucking enormous quantities of water. Nalia is a unique kind of gas giant that is purely hypothetical in the real world, where it has. I haven't even heard of this. I don't even know if this is a thing, but Nalia has butt fucks of water. It is drenched, dude. Yeah, it's Nalia. Other than that, it's pretty. Yeah, look at it. Oh, look at the poles. Look at the shiny poles. I like Nalia. Nalia is cool. We like Nalia. Texid is eclipsing right now, and that's the moon with life. Here's Ane. Let us delve into Ane. It's about to eclipse, actually. In like 2 minutes a second. All right. Let's see the surface. This isn't water. Ane is. It doesn't have life. And it's eclipsing right now. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Ooh. I like this. Let's see. One is an Io-styled planet, but it's not the most Io-styled planet. The most Io object in the system is in an orbit around Fluxedunk. I love that name so much. The names here are beautiful. We'll get to Fluxedunk and its moon. But as you can see, there's a giant volcano here. That's just a feature that I like. Someone pinged me on Discord. I'm not looking. It's got a red atmosphere. Just a thin wisp. It is toxic, so you can't breathe it, and the surface is hazardous. And even the toxic atmosphere it has is kind of thin, so Ane isn't really a hospitable place, but it does have natural resources here, which make it valuable. You know, things like minerals and metals and ores. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, the most interesting object... Well, there's a lot of interesting objects in the alien system, but in my opinion, the one of most interest is Texit. And as you can see, it has pretty city lights, and that is because it is the third object with life, and intelligent life at that. This is home of the Texifolk. Texifolk are not much like us. They are friendly fellows. They kind of remind me, they're inspired by if any of you played the game Outer Wilds, then this is what the Texafolk are inspired by. They live on a jungled forest planet with not really an ocean, just kind of seas. I mean, as you could tell, I mean, there's islands everywhere. It breaks up what might be called an ocean into just a whole bunch of shit. Kind of looks like a Minecraft world, really. There's a big landmass here. Oh, someone might come in the room. I don't know, they just hummed really loud and walked past. That's interesting. Oh god, is my recording doing proper thing? Okay, yes, it is recording. Good. I thought it wasn't recording for a second. Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah, so Nalia is home with the Texafolk, and they're friendly fellows. They are the type of people to just roast a marshmallow. These city lights, you may be like, oh, why didn't you change the city lights? They could be so cool, purple or something. Oh, yep, hold on. Food? Can I wait? Okay, I'm almost done. What? Okay. Funky broccoli. Anyway, the city. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, I like that. That's pretty. Look at that. This planet is beautiful. Anyway, this moon is beautiful. These lights are campfires, mostly. There is electricity on the moon, but it's not really popular. They're bonfires, campfires, candlelight, lanterns, some cities, bustling cities. But Texas doesn't really have economy. It doesn't really have capitalism, I guess. Like, there's no such thing as money. That's all foreign to them. That is in the form of the Symmetrians. The Texafolk are kind of just here to roast a marshmallow by a fire, maybe some good stew, tell good stories, travel over, like, all over the moon. Like, this is probably the one body of water that can be considered an ocean, this huge stretch right here. That's a cut cloud if I've ever seen one. I think this is the wrap of the cloud map. Quite interesting, though. What the hell happened here? That's weird. At least the blend got it from being completely stupid. Anyway, that is Texit. Long explanation for Texit. But here's a moon named Cillian, and Cillian is perhaps just as interesting, although it's not nearly as historical. You might think that this is an extinct planet where life evolved and kind of fucked up. But no, this is a planet, a moon, around Ghen, which, I guess around Nalia, which just didn't have life ever. It didn't evolve on the planet, the moon. It may sound like a waste, but it's like, it's much more habitable than any planet in our solar system. Much, much more habitable than Titan or Mars or Venus' upper clouds, not Venus' surface, dear God. It just doesn't have life. It's kind of an anomaly how life didn't emerge on a planet so close to Texit, which is almost identical and maybe even more habitable than Texit, and Texit got the life. But it just doesn't have, it never had it, and it never will get it naturally. It's being colonized by the Texafolk, and some of you might be against colonization because a bit of American history might make you sour on that. But as I said, Texafolk are kind, and they shape the future of the Symmetrians for the better. So it's not really like it's gonna completely pollute the planet. They're gonna be sure to keep the planet in its naturally beautiful state because they can see the moon from their own moon, like from their surface. Like, you could see Texit from here. It's like the size of the moon in the sky at its farthest point. At its closest point, details everywhere. So yeah, they know Cillian. They have history with Cillian culturally, and they won't butt fuck Cillian. I promise you, that is not in their nature. And if it was, then it would be impossible because it's a moon. Anyway, Cillian is it's got less water, I guess. It's got little water pockets rather than an interconnected sea system, but it's still pretty interesting how it doesn't have life. Anyway, the next object, which is the object that I renamed. It used to be a mouthful because I kind of have mouthfuls. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Looking at you, Fluxedunk. But Pish and Posh are probably the most wholesome planet system in this whole game. Because, look, they're identical. Oh, music's falling. These two objects are identical. I mean, literally. They're not literally identical, I guess. Their surface features aren't copy-pasted. This is actually where I learned about surface visual contrast, which is how I made them look so similar, but they have almost identical atmospheres. And I tried to make them tidally locked to each other, so if we go on Posh and we follow it around Pish, you can kind of see that they're sticking together. So canonically, they are tidally locked. That is the thing. It kind of looks like Mars, but better. Anyway, ignoring that weird comment that came out of nowhere, let's go on to Wishwash, which is from the Pish system. It is a dwarf planet in that respect, though. It is technically considered an asteroid. It's not even a dwarf planet, it's just an asteroid. It would have been a third object in the system, but as you might imagine, because of how close that massive moon was orbiting in relation to Pish, it was ejected almost immediately. And along with it, much of the material that would have formed into it, and it kind of just... I don't really have rings or asteroid belts in the system, but they would be about here, around the Pish-Posh system, in between the orbits of Pish and Fluxedunk. Yeah, you could tell there'd be an asteroid ring right here. And Wishwash would be the series of the system, although it's much smaller. So yeah, it originated from Pish-Posh. Not Pish-Posh, just Pish. It originated from the Pish system, and it kind of just sits out here as a dwarf planet / asteroid thing. Anyway, the last object of interest is Fluxedunk, and Fluxedunk is probably the one true gas giant of the entire sim. As you can look at its surface, you can deter that it is kinda colored. It's kind of pale in like every aspect, but it's got interesting moons. It's got 3 moons. And to make it stable, I didn't have the asteroid moon be super eccentric. I just had it be inclined a little bit so that you know it's an asteroid, and it got fucked around with a little. Anyway, here we have Butterball, which is the IO of this whole sim. More of an IO than One, but IO nonetheless. I guess they both are. Kinda. There's a giant mountain here. Jesus. Yeah, it's just Butterball. You know. The Texafolk are really funny with their naming, like Fluxedunk, Butterball. Here we got Peckle. Looks like a Peckle. Peckle has really dark and bright spotty features for an asteroid. Just cause. I don't really have a reason for that. Don't fight me. Don't at me. And then we have Gilfo, which kind of reminds me of Gum around Polaris. Look at this moon, dude. Yeah, we all like Gilfo around here. It's one of the great moons. We all like Pish and Posh, though. And we all weep for Wishwash. What could have been? And now for the comet / normal asteroid of the system, Tatterbug. Tatterbug is inspired by the naming style of the Interloper from Outer Wilds, like the Texafolk. I drew some inspiration from that game, not all of it. Please don't kill me. I messed with its surface texture a couple times, and then I messed with the hues. And I must say, I do enjoy Tatterbug to look at. It does have like 50% water. Yeah, it's got 50% water. It's in kilograms bigger or about the same as Halley's Comet. So it should be completely fine to just be a comet and fuck around. See, habitable zone? It goes into the red. It should be good. It could be closer, but I guess I'm fine with it being that far away. Because Ghen is a smaller star system, even though it would naturally form that far away, it wouldn't like get as hot. So I'm just gonna leave it there. It's a comet that is almost, but not really a comet. An asteroid that just ducks into the system and comes out. But it does have water and it has the potential to be a comet. It just isn't. I think it isn't. It could be. It could have a tiny, tiny trail as it comes through. Reckon has a huge trail over there, but that's besides the boundaries of what we give a shit about. Anyway, now it's time to talk a slight bit about Cracklebot. Now, there is a resource in this universe called Tantanetium, and it's kind of my excuse for a magic element, sort of. Tantanetium comes in different forms, and they do different things to forms of energy. Usually, it manipulates pure energy into different forms. For example, there are some forms that can transfer kinetic energy, some that can transfer thermal energy, some that can transfer, different kinds of energy. And I reckon, pun not intended, I reckon that this, somewhere on this moon, is the Sajelk Sea, where an impact from the Cracklebot deposited minerals on the moon. And so the moon is now laced with tantanetium in a deposit in Sajelk, and also just kind of scattered about. Yeah, that's it. Also, there's a space station around Texas called Fruit Pit Station, kind of in a tilted orbit like this, because why not? I like this sim a whole fuck ton. I hope that the Neptune guy likes it. And I am sorry to say that I want food now, so I leave the sim. That's pretty much it, dude. Did I forget anything? See, I covered that. Maybe something in Polaris. Oh, there might be like an asteroid belt before I'm pretty sure you could tell where the inner solar system ends and the outer begins, and the outer solar system isn't really big here. Where's the inner outer boundary line in the Ghen system? Oh yeah, Damek and Spudzer are definitely inner, and then the rest are outer. Or maybe Flux. I guess there's 3 levels. There's Spudzer and Damek, then there's Nalia, Wishwash, and Pish, and then there's Fluxedunk, and then just kind of in all in between is Tatterbug. And then there's Cracklebot doing whatever the fuck it wants to do, and then in Polaris, we got ourselves very defining line. I really like Taswin. If I were to pick my favorite object, it would probably be Callus and its moon Dapper, and Dapper's moon Dingbat, because, like, look at this name, Dingbat. Means a fucking idiot. I love this. I love this so much. This whole thing, I put so much time into it. 3 different iterations almost over the course of a year. Probably half a year, but I am definitely proud with it. And I've been writing the book for this for, like, a few years. It's insane. Anyway, to end off, I'm going to smack down with an eclipse with the Pish Posh system. Let's wait for Posh to begin to eclipse Pish. It is starting. It didn't even start. Okay, alright. Wait, it didn't. Are you kidding me? Dude, just eclipse Posh, come on. I want to end on a cool note. Yeah, they're tidally locked for sure. let's go down to the surface with C. Look up at the... Oh, the eclipse is just over. Alright, whatever. I'm just gonna let the sim run a little bit. Thank you guys for watching. I am appreciation. Let's see. I think that's it. There are more systems to be made. I'm not done. I'm gonna make much more. But right now, that's most likely going to be the end of the Paduas system. I like it a lot. I don't see anywhere else I could go with it. I could add more asteroids, but that's just getting repetitive, and there's plenty of material as it is. I don't want to add an asteroid belt or a ring system because that would just get messy. But, yeah. For some reason, I think it had like a partial eclipse up in the north. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, that's almost a full revolution of the pitch pot system. So, with that, I start to end the video. Seems like a good spot, more than any. That's about it. I am your guy thing. And I leave now. Adios. Wait, is it gonna eclipse? Wait. No, it's not gonna eclipse. Whoa. Maybe just a little bit. Oh, that graze. Oh, that was sexy. Alright, thank you, folks. Good fucking bye. Time to answer that ping from earlier.